TJ's return is imminent. I don't know if anyone has returned ever with this kind of steam. I mean, TJ's making headlines everywhere. He's getting called out everywhere. Every report you hear on TJ from his teammates, from Archuleta, from Cub Swanson, by example, man, it's rave reviews. Those guys are saying quietly, not in interviews, not to build up quietly, privately, when you talk, that TJ's never looked better. They are saying that he's never been hungry, he's never been more disciplined, he's never been to practice so early and stayed so late. I mean, everything you hear about T.J. Dillashaw. Not to mention, I don't think TJ went out with the level of steam that he's coming back with, and he went out as a main event debuting on ESPN. I mean, he went out pretty goddamn hot. I think he's hotter now. He's being called out from guys all over the division. He's doing interviews with reporters all over the place, and he doesn't even have a fight announcement. We just know that he's eligible for license in 27 days. So, if I was to make a prediction, not a hope, not who does I hope TJ fight, if I was to make a prediction of who he's going to fight, it's the same prediction. Who I think he's going to fight and who I hope he fights, it's the same Uriah Faber. But let me give you the background, okay? In case any of you have forgot or any of you are brand new, there is a story here which is real simple. Uriah Faber has a gym called Alpha Male. T.J. Dillashaw starts his career, day one, he's at Alpha Male. TJ goes on, captures a world championship over Renan Barão, which at that time went down as the biggest upset in UFC history based upon the odds. TJ was a 7.5 to 1 underdog, and I don't think TJ lost a round. He dominated this fight. And I'd have to go back and look. You know what I can't remember, guys? I can't remember the very first round. But I largely don't remember it because I largely wasn't interested because TJ was going to get smoked. But then TJ, I mean, this ended up not being a competitive fight. TJ kicked his ass and becomes world champion in accomplishing the biggest upset in this sport's history at that time. I believe Holly Holm, the night she knocked out Ronda, was actually an 8 to 1 dog. I believe that Holly now has that record. Don't quote me on the second part. At the time TJ becomes world champion, he is with Alpha Male. He trained with Alpha Male. They got him to the highest levels, got him to a championship fight. Oh, by the way, they got the championship. That is their guy, Dillashaw. Great. Relevant to the story, though, because at some point over the course of Alpha Male, they bring in a new head coach. They bring in a new head coach named Duane Ludwig. And Duane and TJ hit it off. I mean, these guys get along great. And I think that Duane was in the corner the night TJ won the world championship. I believe that Duane was credited with that world championship. But it's very relevant because Coach Ludwig had a falling out with something over there. Whether that was with Uriah, whether that was with the gym, whether that was the city of Sacramento, like something with his time there didn't work and he wanted to go back home to Colorado, and he did. He did. And TJ went with him. And that's where the problem began. That's where, hey, that was unloyal began. And TJ's looking at it going, that's my coach. I can stay here with the team or I can go with my coach. I'm going to be unloyal somewhere. You guys brought him in. You trusted him to teach us. I trusted you that he was the right guy. So I bonded and latched on and gave him the opportunity to show that he was, and it turned out you guys were right. He was the right guy. Very tough spot for TJ. So then TJ even hedged. I want to tell this story for TJ because TJ came out of this thing like the skunk at the garden party. And I think if you take a closer look and you're fair and objective, you may not have that conclusion. So TJ hedges and goes, here's what I'm going to do. This is my home, talking about Sacramento. I'm going to get a place in Colorado. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do some training with Coach Ludwig. He's going to corner me. But I'm going to come and live back here. Now, I don't know how TJ divided that time. I would imagine. TJ's one of these guys that trains all year. He doesn't go into a training camp. He trains all year long. So most likely when it was the official camp phase, which is roughly 8 weeks before a fight, he jetted out to Colorado, did his real serious, intense, strategic training with Coach Ludwig, And then the rest of his life went in the alpha male room and got his workouts, making sure he was staying within striking distance and keeping his weight down and staying sharp prior to the camp where he went and polished up. I think I'm right on that. I think I'm really close, if not spot on. Point being, he hedged and he told everybody up front. There was nothing behind the scenes, nobody behind the back, no deal over here and a different deal here. He told everybody. And the reason I know that is I was one of the people told, and this was as a viewer. As a viewer watching through the media, I was given all of the information because TJ disclosed it, and TJ never got credit for that. They even called him a snake. One thing TJ was not was a snake. He did nothing slippery. He backstabbed nobody. You may have liked the answer, but TJ gave you the answer. Save that thought. Save that thought, because the villain in this story is also not Uriah, who did have his feelings hurt about it and goes, look, I brought in Dwayne. I had a problem with Dwayne. You need to back me and not go with him. Not my only champion packs up and goes with the guy that I just had an issue with. So now you meet Dwayne Ludwig, not the nicest guy you're going to run across. But these guys are still all mad. I mean, everybody's mad at everybody. So what's going to happen? Then you have the Ultimate Fighter. Ultimate Fighter was relevant because Uriah Faber was coaching opposite Conor McGregor. TJ was one of Uriah's coaches, and Conor started the fight between the entire team and TJ. Conor is the one that kept telling Uriah. Cameras would be rolling, but Conor pull Uriah aside and say, hey, that guy's a snake. How could you possibly trust him? You make him a champion and he leaves you? Then you bring him on your team like you can't trust him. So Conor's the one that got this whole thing going, right? Like this master puppeteer. But and Uriah didn't go for it. Uriah goes, no, man, he's not. He's none of those things. That's my boy. It's okay. It's okay. Uriah defended him. It was one of these things that just kept going. And then once Conor spoke up, then some of Uriah's other teammates started speaking up, going, hey, Uriah, I actually agree with Conor here. This is a bunch of crap. You pick one. Have your foot in two different ponds. So they put a lot of pressure. TJ starts feeling unwelcome in Sacramento and goes, guys, I get it, but I can't train under those conditions. I'm out. Staying in Colorado. Boom. Now you got a big price. Now TJ's not hedging anymore. He's full on. He's the enemy. Let's go after him. By the way, Alpha Male has 2-3 contenders in that weight class that weren't going to take on TJ because TJ was their teammate. They go, hey, screw that. Line up the match. I mean, it ended up happening. Cody Garbrandt's one of those guys. But this is the backstory on it. And this is one of these things that's just not going to go away. And when you have the return of Uriah Faber, I mean, Uriah Faber retired for a minute there. The fact that he's back, you have the suspension being completed in 27 days of T.J. Dillashaw, he's going to be back. You can't keep these guys apart. Not to mention, they don't want to be apart. Those guys don't want to not fight. They want to fight. And you have to understand, they know who's going to win. I don't know who that is. But they know. They trained together every single day. Better part of a decade? 7 years? 8 years? Every day. They fought. They know who's going to win. Whoever that is not doesn't care. Does not care. Because he knows in the process, whether he gets his hand raised or not, he's going to get his licks in. And that's all he wants. And you don't have fights like that. You don't have stories like that. You don't have grudges like that. Not to mention, they both matter in the division. You get a jump on TJ, a former world champion, it matters. You get a jump on Uriah Faber, the biggest star the weight class has ever seen. Many weight classes, by the way. 145 and below has never had a... And you got to couple them all together because they were all brought in, right? All called the lighter weights. They were all brought in together. Never anybody move a needle like Uriah Faber did. I find it very compelling that they know who's going to win, which means they know who's not. And whichever one is in the not pile is showing up anyway. Because he knows he may not do enough to win over the judges, but he knows he's going to get his shots in. And that's true. Those guys are going to bludgeon each other. One is going to do it more than the other. Interesting match. It's a match that has to happen. There's no other word. Has. Not we want, not we like, not could. It has to happen.